Yo, hello. Um, First things first, my internet connection is shit today. So if you are experiencing any lags or drops or whatever, I mean, you're gonna have to probably reload the stream. If it's too bad or gets too bad, I can just recommend people just rewatch it and don't watch it live. Um, there's not really much I can do about it. So we're just gonna run with it, and I'm gonna just treat it like a recording. Um, but yeah, I have like 50% drop frames, so that is pretty damn shit. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Like I said, don't panic if it goes poorly, and then just rewatch the recording. It's gonna go live after the stream, whenever YouTube is done with it. Too quiet? Shouldn't be. Just need to make your computer louder. The duck is no longer hanging upside down. Yeah, but I mean, just generally, people have been kind of assuming that that's bullish. I'm just not shorting anymore. That's all it is. What are the odds of Mt. Gox, German government, and US government all selling Bitcoin at the same time? I mean, Bitcoin's quite high up, so it makes sense, no? Like, you sell high. Don't please get us the hell out of this range, mental illness. I think we're gonna be out of the range pretty soon, and I still think it's probably gonna be to the downside. Um, but we'll talk about it. The sound sucks. Shouldn't. It's the same as always. Don't get that as a critique. Didn't you say if 65, 64 fails, 60 is gay and won't hold? Probably something changed. I still think that. I still think 60 is not going to hold. But yeah. Yeah, I think a bunch of people just basically have very quiet headsets or whatever. But yeah. So high time frame. This doesn't look great. It keeps on bashing support. It did retest resistance again, on the monthly time frame, but this is not how it's supposed to be. So monthly time frame not that great. Does the Jason Derulo meme coin gonna make you flip your duck again? Nah, I mean, just one person doing a meme coin. I mean, the whole celebrity thing is bearish, no doubt about it. They've always marked the top since pretty much ever since I've gotten into crypto. If anyone, like if there was large influx of people that have nothing to do with it starting to shill it, it's usually not good. But yeah, anyway, before we probably start and go through the time frames, a big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description. You should go check them out. They're amazing partners to work with. Anyway, so yeah, monthly is pretty boring. The weekly time frame, that's one that's interesting. There's a bullish setup here, that I want to talk about first, and then we go from there basically. And the bullish setup is that we did get a close at support last week. We've had a little bit of an impulse down this week, but if, and that's a big if, and it's a big ask, if we get bullish price action today, tomorrow, on Friday, and maybe even into the weekend, and we close this candle green, there is some sort of bullish setup there, and I think that would actually be a decent kind of way to play it. But oh shit. The stream just nuked completely. Yeah, I want you guys. I mean, this is gonna be an interesting one. Like, yeah, this is something else. Never had this bad internet before. So, yeah. Anyway, so if we close above 63, that kind of range here, I think there is a bullish setup there, and you can play it. And then you basically bet on upside that this is the bottom. The problem is that's very, very unlikely to happen, I think. Like, in my mind, this has like a 10% chance of happening. So I wouldn't be too bullish just yet. I think this is basically, like, it looks like a failure. and the range low has been tested once, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Basically, this is the 7th test. Like that's a tough one. So I wouldn't necessarily want to bet on the long side of things. The range low has been battered too much for that. But I also noticed that on the lower time frames, and this is why I closed, we had that sell-off, but it couldn't really maintain. And usually this should have accelerated. Basically, slow bleed into nuke into acceleration should have happened. It didn't, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna close my shorts. Did so below 60k. I still think the short side is the better side to be on, but yeah, I'm just not. I don't necessarily like to short. I much prefer buying. So if it nukes, I'm just gonna buy instead. Easier that way. Video audio keeps clipping out. Yeah, that is because of my internet. It's just something that you're gonna have to deal with. You can just like give it 5 minutes and then watch it on a 5-minute delay, and it's gonna be better. Why don't you buy BTC of the German government OTC for a discount? They would have to sell it quite discounted for me to be interested. Like I'm not really interested in buying Bitcoin at 60k. I think right now is a pretty shitty spot. Like above 65 seems decent, at 52 maybe, but right here, not that good. Why don't you have Phantom Wallet? I do. I have multiple computers and multiple setups for crypto. This is my streaming computer. So this is literally just used for streaming, nothing else. So yeah, Bitcoin's clearly struggling. We had a little bit of a bounce on the altcoins. And we'll talk about that in a sec, but it's basically just a bunch of people hoping that the bottom's in. It's a little bit worrisome on that front as well. So like there's a bunch of bearish signs and people are too hopeful. But yeah, like I said, we're also at range low, so there's also reasons to be bullish. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, back at 60k. Right now what we're doing is basically bearishly retesting the previous range low. For any kind of bullishness, this would have to trade above 62, in my opinion. And as long as it doesn't, it's really tough to make a bullish argument. Is there something you're not telling us, which is fine, why you closed? Like inside knowledge about squeeze? No, I don't have any inside information. Like I don't talk with anyone about trading, really. There's no insider, there's no group, there's no nothing. I just do my own shit. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Like people are always like, people told me I shouldn't short because GZR was bullish, and then I shorted and made a shitload of money shorting. And then people were like I couldn't care less. I mean, I trade my own shit. I was just like, it nuked, and it didn't nuke in the way I liked it to. And then I was like, okay, I squeezed this quite a bit. I kept compounding to the downside, and then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna take at least a week off. It's also exhausting when you're very, very actively trading. So I was like, I've had enough. Especially, like I said, on the short side of things, because shorts are always temporary, right? You can never hold a short long term. So you basically have to be there always. If you have noticed, I've not been on Twitter as much because I have better things to do now. Like I'm not sitting at the computer watching charts and monitoring. So like, why would I be on Twitter? You think this is the part where all the altcoins retrace? I don't know. Honestly, I don't really have a strong view right now. I had a really strong view. We kept talking about it. I was like, meme coins are gonna die. Bitcoin's gonna go down. Everything's gonna go down. That's played out now, right? So like a lot of that move has happened. I think it's a decent setup still for the short side of things, but I have less of an idea and I have less conviction now. So yeah, but yeah, if the weekly closes below this green box, it's kind of fucked. That would look kind of horrendous to me. I could see, like, if it closes like this, I could see next week go up a little bit, and then I think we would start trending down. Because look at this, and this is something you never want to see when you're bullish, right? You have a bullish move and it fully retraces, and you see this even better on the daily time frame. Like, you have a bullish impulse, and the moment you start getting accepted below that bullish impulse is just bad news. And that's what we're doing currently. You and Cred talked about you're playing 50-52, but it was a bit confusing. Can you go through it again? I mean, me personally, I was just planning on closing my shorts at 52 and then seeing what's up. But I closed them already because I was like, okay, like high 60s to below 60 is enough for me for now. Doesn't mean I don't jump back in, but right now I've had enough. If it goes down, no more bull. I think if this range breaks to the downside, you should expect at least, and it's kind of what it's doing right now, but it's not necessarily confirmed yet, but you should expect at least 120 days of down/sideways movement. And that's kind of like, you have a long, big range like that. It starts breaking down, starts getting accepted lower. That's kind of where has to be. And I think, like, at the worst, the worst of the worst that you can get to the downside would be like mid 40s, like 44 to 40k. I think that would be the worst of it. The most bullish, like, if this is the top range, right? If it isn't, obviously you're not going to 40, like, you're just gonna go up. But if it is a top range, I think at the worst is 40. That's the downside max, I think. I don't think it's going to go lower than that. And the best case, if this is all bearish, I think would be 52 and then like sideways. XOSC indicator triggered. And what exactly does that mean? How low is low enough for you to buy? It just depends on how the market looks. I don't really care about the price. And this is what people don't really understand, right? Like, they were like, when I was buying 16K, people were like, 16K is still so expensive because you could have bought it last cycle for free, right? And I'm like, this is not how it works. So it depends. Depends on how we get to lower supports. It depends what we do, all that kind of stuff. But right now, like at 61K, I'm not that interested because I think, one, you're buying straight into a bearish retest, which is kind of shit to do. Two, there's a much better setup at the mid-range. I think above 65K, that would be quite excellent. And three, I mean, technically, do you guys remember last stream? I mean, if you don't, you should go check. I literally was that day and I was like, short here, stop loss here with like a 2% fucking stop loss. And I was like, target either this or this. And that's going quite well. So that's still a setup that is in play. I think the first one, like that one's beauty. That's kind of like played out already. I don't know if anyone took it based on last stream, but I mean, would be quite nice if someone did. And I still think that the odds of it actually hitting 52K are still decent. So yeah. When XO and SC are bullish and bearish, simple indicator, fair enough. I mean, I think they care more about selling coins to their audience than they care about the actual price of things. But yeah. Meant how you're playing longs at 50-52 when you talked about it with Cred. That part was a bit confusing. Buy this bounce, sell, wait for it to settle. Oh yeah, basically, like, if this goes to the downside, right? Like, let's say we actually get a proper capitulation and it breaks to the downside. I think 52K would be holding on the first test. So I might buy that first test, and then usually what happens is, like, let's say this breaks down, it might wick a little bit lower than 52, and then it bounces like this, and I would try to sell here somewhere and it usually bounces to the middle of nowhere. It doesn't retest, like it doesn't go to 58. It just stops somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I think that would roughly be, depending on where it gets, like 56, and then I would close that, and then the moment it goes back towards 50, I would check the market, how strong it is. If I think it is strong and if it trades strongly, I would buy that again, and then see if it actually just starts rallying up or not. That's kind of how I would play this. Obviously, if it shows weakness, I buy this, and it shows weakness, I would be afraid that it rolls over into the 40s. But yeah, I generally, like when it capitulates and has big candles, right? There's usually a buy to be had where you're in profit like 10, 15, 20%, even on Bitcoin, the day after. And that would be like the 52K level. So you will buy if it accelerates to the downside, but not if it bleeds slowly. Yeah, if it continues bleeding, this looks like shit. Like imagine if there's something like this again, where like this was horrendously bearish. I don't know why people were bullish. Right? Like we talked about this, like when you have this kind of slow bleed, it almost always, especially if it's controlled like this, it almost always ends with a capitulation, right? And that's kind of what we got, but it wasn't as big as it could have been, and altcoins didn't get as wrecked as they could have, which means there's still blood to get in the market. It's just a question of how strong is it. Do you think this sort of large dumps can still happen? 100%, yeah. Of course, why not? Why did you close your shorts? Because I've had enough. Like I said, the short side of the market is not that interesting to me. I do it for a couple of reasons, right? Like one, obviously, I like to make a little bit of money. But the main reason is basically just telling people to fuck off. Like if I get pissed off, that I mean, people are just being dumb. Like it's a little bit of a freebie. Like this bearishness and this kind of short, this was a freebie, right? Like it was like 95% of the time gonna play out, right? So I was just kind of like, okay, you kind of have to take these. When you have the market be so wrongly positioned on something and sentiment be this shifted, I mean, it's just like this almost always gonna make you money. So it's kind of like you have to take it, and it's always nice when you then can tell people to fuck off with that position on top of everything, right? So, but the real money is not made on the short side, one, and two, you have to do much more when you're actually shorting than when you're longing, right? So if you're longing, like for example, me at 16K, I bought and I didn't really have to do anything for the longest time. I traded it around a little bit, but at the end of the day, like I could have, and I did just hold most of it for the longest time. Now with a short, like the time that you have with that is limited. So I think the long side is much more interesting, and then I just close whenever I feel like it. Odd, I'm here to make money. Really don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. It's the internet. Yeah, but I mean, it's an added bonus. It's nice. But yeah, obviously main motivator is making money, but I think you make more money on the long side. Like the short side is, like I said, not that interesting. Hi Dawn, do you think we are still be able to get an alt season? Cannot imagine alt bleeding for 50% more. I know it's possible and probable, but just want to hear your thoughts. I mean, obviously you can. It's just retail really isn't that interested in crypto, and I think that's kind of like what we're seeing across the board. Retail got completely burned, and new entrants are like just not really there. And if they're there, they're buying fucking celebrity coins and meme coins and getting rugged. And with all of this stuff, there's really a limited amount of upside. And right now, I don't think it's that interesting. And I thought it would be much better, the altcoin market, when Bitcoin was trading low. I was like, at 60K, you're gonna start seeing people actively trading altcoins again. So far, that's not been the case. Just memes, basically, just very fractured and shitty markets. So maybe it needs to go to 100K, and I don't know if it gets there. So to answer your question, obviously possible, but right now the market conditions are really bad for it. I think it's more likely that you're gonna get a 50% drawdown on your altcoins than that you're gonna get an alt season. So yeah. Price action is clearly shifted to bearish. I would agree. Like this is clearly bearish price action, not chop. People are saying like, oh, it's chopping, whatever. There was chop in here. This is clearly bearish price action. And like I said, we're technically retesting, like bearishly retesting resistance right now. And that can obviously change and it can go back to chop, but it needs to do a little bit for that. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, doesn't look that great. If it goes back below 60, there's probably gonna be a bigger candle to the downside than the one that we had here. So do you really think Larry Fink will let his clients lose money? I think that's some of the worst arguments you could make for prices to go up or down. ETH, it's rough. Like that's really fucking rough. It hit support, and that's where it's kind of bounced from. This support in here, but the follow through has been abysmal so far. So yeah, I mean, this just basically looks like it took a little bit of break and it's now gonna continue dumping. Not great, not looking too good. I think on the ETH side of things, you want to be above 3.5k and then talk about being bullish, but right now it doesn't look that way. If this is the top and Bitcoin couldn't even break above all-time highs, will there be another cycle? Seems like a majority of participants buy because every other cycle Bitcoin sees new all-time highs. Yeah, of course. Doesn't, like, people are like, if it goes back towards, like, literally every single cycle, people are like, oh yeah, if it was trading at like 8, 9, 10k, and people are like, it's never gonna go back below like 5 or 10. And then it goes to 20 and people feel validated and they're like, if it ever goes back down again, this market is dead. And then it went to 3. And then it went to fucking 60 and people are like, oh yeah, this time around, it can really not pull back because like the big guys are in it now. It can only go towards 30k. That would be range low. That's as low as it's gonna get. And then it fucking went to 15. And it's gonna be the same. It's always the same. So if this pulls back, I'm not worried about the Bitcoin cycle, or like generally like Bitcoin going up. Not really. I would be more worried, like if I was a big altcoin kind of guy, I would be worried because altcoins are still going to be big. It's just a question of, are the ones that I'm holding gonna be around next cycle? And the answer to that is very likely no. Are you bullish or bearish in Diablo 4? I like Diablo 2 better, but I had some fun with Diablo 4. Haven't played it in a long time though. Isn't now the time for ETH BTC to shine? Yeah, you'd think so. That's why it's weird that it's not. It's barely holding on to support. So yeah, ETH struggling. It needs to get back above. And there's a lot of these kind of levels, right? Like I can go through all the time frames and all the coins, and they're all trading below where they need to be trading. ETH is below 0.057, needs to go above there. If it doesn't, I mean, that just doesn't look that good. That's relative weakness for like all the positive news. You could argue that, hey, it's only weak because people are mispricing this thing, but I think that's a shitty argument. Weakness is weakness. Did you run the half marathon? I signed up for a marathon, but I cannot run it because I got so sick that my doctor told me I'm not allowed to. But I'm healthy now again, or like somewhat healthy. Good enough anyway. I'm gonna start slowly training again. But yeah, I mean, if you're sick like a month before the marathon, doctor was like, you stay home. I'm gonna kill you if you go. So I was like, I don't care, I'll leave it. But I'm gonna do a full Ironman next year instead. Don, why aren't you front running the ETH ETF? Because price action is shit. That's why. I would like to, like, if there's one thing that I want to be bullish on, it's ETH. But right now, it's trading too weak. How did you come up with 0.057? It's hard to see it as relevant. So it's basically the range low, and so the lowest close here. It acted as, like, we had a false breakdown here, acted as resistance, and then the moment it got reclaimed, you got the biggest of bull candles possible. So it's clear that people were like this was an important level, otherwise you wouldn't have had that reaction to it. And then the moment it kind of like broke down here, it retested again, broke down, and then you had two false breakouts back into the level, which is why I think this level is also important. And this is what we talked about. Like back when we're trading down here, actually was like, I prefer this level up here. And that's what we ran into. But now that we've tested it twice, I think it's kind of shit, and I'm back to 0.057. So basically, I get it. Like, you want to take this level, and you're like, oh, this is more important. This is more interesting. To me, it was. We tested it twice. Now, if we break 0.057, which is now the less obvious level, I think we're gonna break 0.06. So basically, just like, I went from liking one level to liking the other more. It's all discretionary, but 0.057 is the previous low of the range, so that's why. Doug, I'm generally curious. I understand you don't really believe in this asset class. Do you just trade it and not think any of the coins are investments and that crypto is here to stay and grow? Pretty much, yeah. I don't think, like, Bitcoin I like. Bitcoin I think is probably gonna keep going up. But the reason why I like it is because I think it's a better alternative to gold. I think gold is kind of shit in comparison to Bitcoin. The reason why I dislike it is because I think gold is just a shit investment. I think it's a doomer asset. And I think it's a little bit of a waste of capital, right? Like, it doesn't really do anything. People that invest in gold, they're all doomers, right? And I get it as a hedge, whatever, but I think it's just an uninteresting way to look at investment, like investing, right? You want to be investing in stuff that moves the world forward, not betting on the world being fucked. So I think it's a shitty investment, like gold is. That's why I don't own any gold, don't really care about it. I think Bitcoin is much better than it, but I don't like that type of investment in the first place, right? So you have this weird thing where I think Bitcoin is underpriced relative to gold, but I also don't like gold. So kind of a weird situation. And then with the altcoins, I think this is like 90% pump and dumps. 10% tries at something that ultimately are gonna fail, and then there's 0.000000001% of any projects that might actually do something in the future. So yeah, I just trade it. I take money, like I just put money in the market, or I put it years ago. I don't really put new money in the market. Never have. I basically just keep on withdrawing. Like every year I withdraw more. And then, I mean, the money that I still have in it multiplies, so I can withdraw even more the next year, and then it keeps going. Basically, it's a money printer for me, but it's not like I'm investing in it. So don't really care about it too much. This is why I don't really have FOMO, because I think it's kind of like we're at this point where, and I drew this previously. We're at this point where it's been around long enough that it should have produced something of value and of interest, and it hasn't. So I think at this point, I'm just like along for the ride because I'm good at it. Like, I'm good at trading it, but you're not gonna see me fight for crypto in that kind of way. Like I'm never gonna promote it to anyone around me in real life or any of that sort, because I think it does more damage than it does good, at least for now. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. But it doesn't really matter, and it shouldn't impact the way you view it. It's just how I look at it. And honestly, the crowd in crypto has turned very, like, that was the big selling point for me, that the people in crypto were just really fucking smart. Like, you would talk with people and they would all be smarter than you, right? Like, this is something that was the case back in the day. Like, I was talking with people and I was like, oh shit, like, these people are really fucking smart and they have good arguments, and they like to think, and it's pretty clear that they do so, and that's changed drastically. Now, like 9 out of 10 people that I talk with are complete and utter idiots. That came out of the loop. Did you end up getting the castle, and are you living there with the wife and the duckling? No, so the castle thing was, I basically had the yes already. I was like, I'm buying it. And the castle owner withdrew. Basically, he was like, I want to keep it after all because it's too nice. And then he rugged me, basically. Yeah. Can we have a look at Doge? We will look at Doge. Yeah. Any other asset class or tech you're interested in? I mean, I'm just very good at trading crypto, so I don't really do much else. I'm just basically like, I'm useless at everything else. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's talk about other coins. Solana. I have seen Solana be shilled a lot. In like, I opened Twitter earlier for like 10 seconds and 90% of the posts were about Solana. That actually still, like, it's still broken down, and that has to prove that it's actually bullish still. But people are already quite excited. Technically speaking, it's a bearish retest. I don't like when you have breakouts that immediately retest, right? So like, it's the same to the up or downside. When you have a range, you go sideways, you break out, you immediately retest. That is the first warning sign that that breakout might not be strong. And that's kind of what we're doing here. And I don't like, so that's a good thing that it's retesting, in my opinion, but it's still a bearish retest. So gotta be quite careful here, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I closed my Solana at 135 ish. It nuked, came back up. So basically, like, I mean, it's basically exactly where I closed it. I added some again. Like, I closed it at 135. I added some. It went down. It went back up. I closed the break even at 135. Because I thought there was a chance, like when I was shorting here on the left side of things, that I was like, there is a chance that this just full capitulates, like 30% down candle. It didn't do so. Like, it was actually much stronger than Bitcoin on that down day. This was the Bitcoin down day, but I still think this is actually not that strong of a chart. But yeah, it does need to close above 135 this week. If it doesn't, that actually looks quite bad. If it does, actually starts looking much better, and then we can talk about upside. You done shorting? Yeah, I don't see a world in which I start shorting again. It's very unlikely. I'd much rather, like, if it goes down, I'm gonna buy. If it goes higher, I think I'm gonna buy, and then that's that. Why do you think it pumped so much when Bitcoin was bleeding down? Still think Sol USD at 100% at $100 possible? I think a bunch of people basically shorted it, and and then the trade got crowded and there was money to be made on the other side. And also people were betting on the range holding, right? So basically it was super bearish while Bitcoin was bleeding towards the range. Bitcoin broke the range to the downside, and then people made a big bet on Solana instead of Bitcoin, betting on this range holding. And so far, I mean, it's been decent, right? Like they've made more money on the Solana side of things. It's just, if this breaks down, I think there's a lot of people on the wrong side of the market. So it's a little bit of a risky bet, but I don't necessarily dislike it too much. Do you think your early success contributed by is contributed by easier market conditions, or you think people can be as successful as before? It was easier back then, but you can still, like, if you're really fucking good, you can still be successful, in my opinion. It's just harder, and the reason for it is quite straightforward. I think the upside is there's a limited amount of upside to this thing. The moment you, like, let's say the entire crypto market cap 10x's from here, then you start kind of being bigger than real world complete asset classes, right? And at that point, you could argue that, I mean, that's quite expensive for all of this stuff that doesn't really do anything yet. We don't really have a use case for crypto. It's all speculative at this point. And then unless that changes, there's just a ceiling on this thing, right? And when I was trading it back in the day, that ceiling was very, very far away. And that ceiling is kind of what we're bonking on right now. So basically, like when I was trading this thing at like below 1K, and when I was trading Doge when it was like nothing, there was no ceiling that I had to be worried about. Like, and that ceiling was like 100x away. Now that we have that 100x, that ceiling is right here, right? Like the ceiling is literally, in my opinion, at like in between like 70 and 150K. I don't think you're gonna see much acceleration past that unless something drastically changes in crypto or just generally on the world stage. So basically you have a little bit of a capped upside, so you have to be much better at trading, because it's easy, like when there's upside of 100x to be had, it's easier to make bets, and it's easier to make bullish bets and then get like print off of it. And now it's like you make a bullish bet on Bitcoin at 60K. What's your realistic target? I mean, I think anything above 120 to 150K starts getting very unrealistic, and then that's a 2x. Don't you think that the market being more efficient in determining how low float and high FTV is bad, so trading memes makes more sense, and this is a sign of the market maturing in an ironic sense? No, the market didn't mature at all. I mean, yes, that's good that people are not suckered into the high FTV garbage again, but the meme thing, no. Like, we just exchanged it, one thing for the other. Like, people think that there's no insiders in memes. It's complete and utter dumb. Like, that's not how it works. You just exchanged like a bunch of people in suits for a bunch of people in chat groups that are taking advantage of you. But nonetheless, both sides are taking advantage of you, right? So it's not like the market matured on that side of things. So... But when it was at 16K, we didn't have the balls to buy like you. Yeah, but I mean, when you really have to buy, like when you really have to have balls to buy, that's where you make money, right? Like, for example, like 16K was easy for me to buy because I was like, what's the iron ceiling, right? And I mean, there's a tweet from me, like, where I was like, here I'm buying 16K or like 15 point something, and my target is 100K, because I was like, that's the iron ceiling, right? I don't think like, that's where I see the potential for this thing starting to top out, right? And then, like, at that point, like, that's enough of a multiplier to really make it worth. Now at 60K, I think that's a little bit harder to do. Then you would have to buy altcoins, and I think a lot of people are kind of struggling with this now, where to get those multipliers that you want, you would have to buy altcoins. So they buy the biggest, dumbest shit, and then they get rug pulled and they go out of the market with 90% losses. Doug, if all of it were a scam, why would BlackRock, Fidelity be involved? ETFs coming, more ETFs, blah, blah, blah. The reason why is because there's volume. Like, I mean, straight up, there's profit to be made. Those people don't give a fuck about crypto. Or like most of them don't. There is money to be made. It's the hottest market. That's like, it's like saying like, hey, Binance just listed this shit out. Like it cannot be a bad coin because Binance just listed it. Dude, Binance doesn't really give a fuck. They're just very happy to have a coin that puts volume in because they're making money on the trading. And it's not like that is any different with BlackRock or all the ETFs. The politicians that now kind of agree to crypto, it's not because they care about crypto. It's because there's people that are trading crypto and they're important for them. It's not because they have a bigger belief in crypto or whatever. So I think it's not necessarily a good argument. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's all a scam. I'm just saying like we haven't really produced anything so far. Why does the stream keep cutting? Because my internet's shit today. There's nothing I can do about it. So you're bearish in Sol, ETH, Sol USD, and Sol BTC. You still think it goes down? I mean, it's technically like we've had the first, and this is something of note. We had the first flip of a support level. So I think there's the possibility that this keeps going up a little. But right now with it struggling at resistance, I wouldn't want to bet on it. Like I wouldn't want to take a so long. I think this is as much as you can expect for now, unless Bitcoin really reclaims. If Bitcoin reclaims 63K, then by God, trade your soul. I think at that point it will probably go up, but right now, like I wouldn't want to bet on Solana. Don't see the point. Like you had the oversold bounce, and yeah, I mean short term, I could see this be not the worst place, like 135, 134, like that area, to rally maybe into 143, like if you're lucky. But I think that's as much as you can expect from this thing for now, unless Bitcoin giga rallies, then things change. People asked about Doge and whether I still like 0.1. I kind of don't, and I kind of do. So the problem with it is that like there's a very, very deep retest, 0.096, that area. Like somewhere here in between that and this high, like it's not a bad level. And I think if the market completely nukes, you might make you might even make money on it. But given how the meme sector has been playing, I think Doge might just die alongside it. Like the memes have been completely and utterly wrecked, and I think the problem with the memes is now that like if you don't get new money in, they're just gonna continue to bleed, like with big bounces along the way. Like for example, Whiff bounced big time, and I'm 0% surprised, right? This went down like 64% in one go, and then it bounced big time, and it could even bounce more than that, right? But it bounced 50% ish. And I think that's pretty much the name of the game for a lot of these memes now, where you get these big sell-offs and massive rallies, and then you start bleeding out again. Maybe you get even a secondary rally, and then you start bleeding out again. And I think that is, as long as Bitcoin's trading below the all-time high, I think that is how the memes like how they're gonna go. Basically, bleed into big candle, into bleed into big candle, but generally down. And as long as that is the case, I think Doge's not going to do so well. So to answer the question whether I like 0.1, it's a decent support level. I could see it bounce there, but with the environment being as it is right now, the meme environment and everything, I'm not entirely sure I would want to have that position. And Yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle. Pepe over Doge. I mean, Pepe has had a bullish setup. It's played out to a large extent, but yeah, Pepe has been better, and that's because it's on ETH, I think. But yeah, Pepe was at support, wicked into the lower one, and then just been rallying. So that's quite good. But same as with and same as Doge, I think this might suffer under just everything else, like all the other memes not doing so well. I think Pepe is probably going to be one of the memes that does the best. And like I said, if the market turns around, the memes are going to do quite well generally. And then I think Pepe is a decent bet. And then maybe Doge might even be a decent bet. But right now I'm not seeing what I would like to see on Doge at least. Pepe, I mean, this is decent, like that's not the worst. See here at support. Yeah. Retesting support. If it starts losing that gets ugly fast. But you could argue that all of this is support. So in here, quite nice support. Generally not a bad chart. Hey Don, do you reckon DXY has a large impact on crypto? Or if so, do you chart it and make decisions based on it? No. I don't think it has the largest impact. It does probably have one, but I don't chart it. And I mean, I have charted it in the past, and it's actually been really, really accurate. I don't know if you guys still, or if any of you guys watched the old show with Ledger that we had, weekly open, but I was like, it's gonna get rejected here. It nuked, and then I was like, it's gonna range forever in here, right? And it's been doing that. So I've been 100% accurate on DXY for like 2 years now, but I wouldn't wanna, I think it's probably gonna get rejected again here, but I don't know. I don't really care too much. But yeah, that's been really accurate. One of my most accurate calls. Like, imagine being right for 2 years on something, but don't really care about it too much. Doesn't really change much. Fair to assume market will eventually make new all-time highs over the next 1 to 3 months. I think that's a really, really big assumption, actually. Like a really, really big assumption. Like we're at range low right now, and it's shitty range low. And if that breaks, I think it's very fair to assume that we're not gonna do that, and that it's gonna be like, you're gonna be talking about 6, 9 to 12 months maybe to make new all-time highs. Do you personally hold more assets in euro or USD in euro? But I mean, my crypto stuff is priced against USD mostly, so yeah. Hey Don, just before you started streaming, the US government sent 3.5k Bitcoin to Coinbase. Wouldn't you say market not really dumping more so far on all these government selling big is actually a good sign? Yeah, but yes, but also we front ran a lot of this selling, right? So like, I think basically this bounce is a lot of people taking profit that kind of knew this was coming. As in, you don't hold that much USD stablecoins and swapped it into euro instead? I generally, when I don't trade, I try to get as much money out of the market as I can, yes. I don't trust anything in the market. Anything or anyone. Anything can be rugged. Anything can be hacked. It's just my years in crypto where I'd rather go through the trouble of, like, if I wanna buy or sell or whatever, to like that it's gonna take like 3 days rather than being at risk of getting completely wrecked. It's one of the only reasons why I didn't get, like, the FTX thing didn't get me as much as it could have, and in the past it's protected me a bunch of times. I generally just assume everything is a scam. So yeah. When will you leave crypto? When I get bored of it. Like when it doesn't trade nicely anymore. Like when it trades shit, and there's no opportunities left. Might be a while. Like trading is fun. I don't want to do it forever, but it's fun. So. A big point people made in hindsight last cycle is that we went through a distribution phase while topping. Could the same be said right now? I mean, yeah, you could argue that this range is the same as this range or this range. Yes. I mean, it's breaking down right now. And if it breaks down properly, you would argue that this is distribution. And that's why I'm saying, like, if it breaks down, I think this would be like, you would be like new highs, if anything, at 2025, not 2024. That's why I said, like, I think the 1 to 3 months making new high thing is a little bit of a tall order. I even think if this reclaims the range, there's a good chance it's going to take longer than 3 months. Like, let's say this goes up, right? Like the bears are bear tarts and it goes up. I think it could still like do something like this and then maybe pop. Do you think the cycle is still on or over? I mean, I made the call here that I think the cycle's over. And I mean, it went higher and now it's lower. And I still think there's a good, like, I think the chance of it being over are higher than the chance of it not being over. And I mean, the altcoins are trading so much lower than when I made that call. So on that front, it's quite right. On the Bitcoin front, not necessarily, right? I mean, this was basically just above midpoint and we're down from where I made that call like 10%-ish. But I think there's a good chance that we're gonna have to wait for next cycle. Maybe we get like a 1 year shitty price action and then the next cycle starts. I don't think it necessarily has to be like a 4-year cycle thing, but yeah. Please stream even if you leave crypto, you're the best stack. Yeah, but I mean, if I'm not trading it, my insight is not as interesting, I think. But yeah, like fucking hell, low time frame price action is garbage right now. That 4 hour looks horrendous. Not great. But yeah, people are betting on fucking altcoins of all things. Bitcoin breaks the range low and people betting on altcoins. What could go wrong? It's a little bit scary, not gonna lie. Like they're really, like, all of these people that are betting on like Solana with or whatever, they are really at risk of Bitcoin just pulling the rug and then they're getting completely and utterly fucked. So if you're an altcoin holder, better pray that this shit holds. And it can. I'm not saying it has to break down here. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of people at risk. Triple top is no longer a meme. Yeah, I think that there's reasons for that I'm gonna get into another time. But yeah, not now. Regarding Solana, I think the strong movement could also be insiders buying because of the new feature update they've pushed out yesterday. Nah, don't think so. You also had ETH pump during that. It wasn't necessarily just Solana. It was also like with everything. This was just basically a bunch of people squeezing altcoin shorts and betting on the range holding, basically. I thought there were previous times where Bitcoin went down and also went up. No, yeah, the 2017/18 top of the market, Pico top, before it went from 20k to 3k. Yeah, you had alt season basically. You had alt season. Like the biggest part of the alt season was in here. It also kind of went crazy here, but you had a lot of the altcoins go absolutely crazy. But I don't think the market is necessarily made for that. Like I'm not expecting, like if this is the top, I'm not expecting altcoins to necessarily do something similar. I'd be very, very surprised. There's not, like I said, there's not really that much people actually interested in the altcoins that still have money. So, yeah. Hard to believe we could be entering another bear correction. Sure, when the Fed starts easing and printing money again, all markets likely rip more. Yeah, it's a little bit of consensus that that's gonna happen. I'm not necessarily sure. Like markets are gonna rip more, right? Is what you're saying. When they're finally getting on the side of the bulls, right? Like I don't know, bro. Like, where the fuck do you want them? Where the fuck do you want these markets to rip? Like, I mean, yeah, maybe. Like, I'm not saying it's not gonna happen. I'm just saying, like, where the fuck, like, where the fuck is Nvidia gonna go? Like, this is, and I've been through a lot of bubbles. I'm a main crypto trader, right? But this is something else. I said after the correction, yeah. I mean, I'm not shit talking you. I'm just saying, like, I mean, if you think like there's gonna be a correction and then it's gonna do like this, and everyone that has Nvidia is just gonna be like a billionaire, the next Zuckerberg. Like you have one share of Nvidia and you like rule the planet. Fair enough, but there's already going like some crazy shit happening, and it's like if this corrects, we're gonna see some pain in crypto as well. So I mean, it depends. It depends, and I'm not bad hearting on that front. I'm just saying, like, the macro view of okay, they just need to ease, and then it's all gonna go up. I think it's a little bit oversubscribed. But what do I know? Like, I'm not a macro guy. So fair to say you don't expect much more new retail to enter the market. I think they would if Bitcoin goes to 100K, maybe. And I said the same, to be fully transparent, I said the same when we were trading at 20, 30K. I was like, the moment we're going to trade at 60K, you're going to get retail and you're going to get altcoins and whatever. None of that happened, right? We had a bunch of memes go up, but that was basically just all crypto insiders, and that was it. So I said the same thing at 30 before 60. And if this market truly is bullish, whatever, like a lot of people believe, even though, like, I mean, right now it really looks like shit. I think maybe at 100K, but so far there's really little evidence of that. I think a general alt season, like we've had them before, I think is a very unrealistic ask. I don't think everything is gonna go up. I think there's gonna be a few sectors in crypto that might, and then I think a large majority of the coins that already exist is generally gonna continue bleeding out to zero. Did you have mentors in your early days, or are you just self-learned? I'm self. Yeah, you mean self-taught? Yeah, I'm self-taught. Everything that I've found that like back when I started was shit. Like people were just making shit up, using like fucking chart patterns and whatever. And I was like, this is garbage. I'm just gonna look at the market my way and figure something out. And I still remember I slept in front of my computer. I was like literally like 6 months sitting in front of the screen, 16 hours a day, trying to make sense of it all, and kind of did. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm not short anymore. I still think the short side is better than the long side here. But yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. If it dumps to 52, expect to see me in the order books. If it reclaims 65, I'll be there. Right now, anywhere in between, I'll just take some chill pills and do nothing. So yeah, hope that helps. Hope I answered some questions you had, and if not, yeah, whatever. Come back next time. Appreciate all of you. It's been a pleasure. Big shout out to Wu, and yeah, we'll talk again tomorrow or the day after. Not entirely sure. We'll see. See you guys. Bye bye.